Hello, hello, hello. I am here hiding in my closet so that I can get away from most of the noise so we can read a little bit more of our book. Because I don't want you guys to miss out just because I'm not there. So I got an actual bookmark. It's really cute. It's Baby Yoda. Okay. So the last stuff we read that was Telemachus and the mentor were about to set out on their journey. So we'll see what happens. Okay. So what this looks like to me says Book 3 Pylos, which is one of the places he was supposed to go. So what this looks like to me is they're arriving and there's lots of people there to greet them. And so the mentor, no, you can't see very well. The mentor tells Telemachus, don't be shy, speak plainly to Nestor, and he will tell you the truth. Remember, Nestor is the ruler here. And Athena, when she was dressed or disguised as Captain Mentes, she's like, hey, talk to King Nestor. So clearly, this looks like you're not going to be able to see this really, really well, but these are groups of people around like fire pits, cooking animals over the fire pits. And this guy, you can see the animal that's hung, and he's got a bloody sword and everything like that. So this is like maybe an army or something that's, oops, sorry, I scooted my computer. This is like an army or something. Yeah, he's like skinning this animal so that they can eat it. Um, and people are sitting down here eating. So I think this is like an army has come back from war and they need something to eat, right? This is not just like a cookout or something. This is like large scale. We've got to feed all of the people. Oh, even better. We just talked about in our notes today feasts to honor the gods. So here we have strangers welcome, join our feast, make an offering to Lord Poseidon, for this feast is in his honor. So actually, I was wrong. It is just like a cookout, it's a gigantic, they're all trying to honor the god Poseidon. And they're saying, come on, you can have some of the food. Make sure you make an offering to the god because this is in his honor. Okay, so the mentor then takes a bowl, no, a cup, like his drink, and he says, Lord Poseidon, whose dominion embraces the whole earth, hear our prayer. Glory to Nestor and all the line of Neleus. Good fortune to every man of Pylos in exchange for their sacrifice, and swift success to Telemachus and myself in our mission. Okay, so then, so he's got the cup, and then they wash their hands before they're eating. That was all part of the ceremony. Plus, we know now it's good, just good hygiene, but that was part of their ceremony then. Okay, so then, okay, so this guy is sitting next to Telemachus. Now that we have put aside our hunger, tell me who you are, guests, and from what port you sailed. Are you merchants, perhaps, or men of war? Um, Nestor. Oh, this. Okay, so this is Nestor. This is the guy that they were sent to speak to. Nestor, son of Neleus, pride of Achaia, I will answer you. I come from Ithaca, this is Telemachus talking, but my business here is personal. I seek news of my great-hearted father, Odysseus, who fought with you at Troy. We have heard the fate of every other Achaean general, returned home or dead and buried before the walls of Troy, but of Odysseus' fate I can learn nothing. I beg you, tell me what you know. Did you see him fall in battle or ever hear of his end from any traveler? I pray, do not soften it out of pity, but tell me everything. So what he's saying is, hey, you're asking, are we merchants? Are we selling things? Are we men of war, like soldiers? You're asking who we are, and I'm just here on personal business. I know that you fought at Troy with my dad, and I have heard what happened to literally everybody else and not him. So I'm just begging you, tell me the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't like try to spare my feelings. I just want you to tell me what happened. Tell me everything. Okay, so Telemachus is saying, don't hold back. Don't try to tell me gently. Just tell me what happened. Okay, so here's Nestor. My friend, you take my mind back to dark days. The Achaeans suffered many ills on that shore. I could not tell them all if you stayed with me 5 years to listen. So saying that so much bad stuff happened that it would take him, even if somebody stayed with him 5 years and he was just telling them all the stuff, it would take longer than 5 years. That's a lot of bad stuff. Even after we breached the walls and sacked that great city, the walls of Troy that had kept them out, the gods had more trouble in store for us. Okay, so it looks here like he's remembering, and this would be like him remembering Troy on fire. So he's trying to kind of summarize this for Telemachus. Agamemnon and Menelaus called a meeting that night when all were drunk with wine and bloody deeds. So they had all of the war, like the feelings that they had been in battle all day. And then also they were drunk with wine. So they had lots going on. Menelaus was calling for the ships to sail homeward immediately. But Agamemnon wanted to stay and offer hecatombs to honor Athena. The kings could not agree, and all the men went to bed angry. Now, I don't know what that word is. So, what we are going to do is we're going to take a break and we're going to look it up, is what we're going to do. So, hang on just a second. I am actually pulling up a browser window. That's why I'm staring at the camera. I want to know what a hecatomb is. Hecatomb. Hecatomb. Okay. So, it says a great public sacrifice, usually of 100 oxen. Okay. So basically, Menelaus was like, dude, we did what we were supposed to do. Let's get out of here. And Agamemnon is like, no, we need to stay here and offer like this giant sacrifice and like celebration of what we achieved here. And so they didn't agree. And so now everybody's mad. Okay? They're all fighting because nobody agreed on what to do. So in the morning, Menelaus went home like he thought that he should do. And so half the fleet went with him. Because they were like, yeah, we agree with this guy. We should go home. Myself and Odysseus among them. So Nestor and Odysseus were like, yeah, we're with Menelaus. We're getting out of here. While Agamemnon stayed to make the sacrifice. And again, this was a big deal. So he said hecatombs here. So if one hecatomb is 100 oxen, he's wanting to offer multiples of 100 oxen, 2 or 3 or more. 2 or 3 or more 100 oxen. So, big deal. But even among those who sailed, even among those who left, there was disagreement. And at Odysseus's urging, some of the ships turned back to make peace with Agamemnon. Okay, so I guess some people felt bad leaving angrily, And so we have a picture of them, and they're kind of squaring off. They don't agree with each other. And so then they have the ships leaving, and then some of them turn around and go back so that they don't leave on bad terms because they're supposed to be allies. Okay, then Nestor says, I kept on, and Poseidon favored me with a good wind, so that I arrived home first, along with King Diomedes of Argos. Okay, so he's saying that because of his decision, Poseidon agreed with him and helped him, because these are sailboats. So even though they had rowers, if they had a wind that was going in the direction that they wanted to go, that would actually be better. The men could save their strength, you know. So that he was saying he was blessed by Poseidon, and so he arrived home first. Thus I know nothing of the other Argive captains, but I will tell you what I have learned since from travelers. Okay, so he was like, I was already home, but I heard things from travelers who came through after. All right, so let's find out what happened. They say Achilles' fierce Myrmidons returned safely with his son, Neoptolemus. So too did Philoctetes, Idomeneus, and all their followers. I am probably not saying not a one of these words right. One of these names right. I'm going to have to Google all of these. No matter how far away you live, you will have heard the songs about Agamemnon and his gruesome death at the hands of Aegisthus. But his son, Agamemnon's son, Orestes, avenged the murder and proved that the line of Atreus is still strong. The Achaeans, okay, so then now Telemachus starts talking again, because this is Nestor telling story, now Telemachus is talking again. The Achaeans applaud Orestes, and his name will live through all time, for he has avenged his father nobly. I wish that heaven might grant me such vengeance on the insolent suitors of my mother who plot my ruin. But the gods have no such happiness in store for me. Okay, so Nestor is like listing off. He's like, okay, and these guys came home, and these guys made it home, and these guys made it home. But Agamemnon did not make it home. And he was killed. And then Agamemnon's son went back and killed the guy that killed Agamemnon. And everybody knows that story. And then Telemachus, when he brings that up, is like, they really applaud him for that. The people really applaud him for that, for avenging his father's death. But here I am. I can't even figure out if my father is really alive or dead. And I'm trying to stand up against all these guys who want to be my mom's new boyfriend. And I don't think the gods have any sort of happiness. No such happiness. No such, like, good resolution or honor or anything like that. I don't think they have anything like that in store for me. Okay, so then Nestor speaks up again. He says, now that you remind me, I have heard that your mother has many suitors who are ill-disposed towards you and are making havoc of your estate. So ill-disposed, like they don't like him. Because he's like, yo, y'all are eating all of my food and spending all of my money, and what are you doing? And, we read about their fight that they were having earlier. And making havoc of your estate because they're eating all of their animals. They're eating up all of their cattle and sheep and drinking all their wine and eating up all their food and all that kind of stuff. Do you submit to this tamely, or are the gods and islanders all against you? So, like, are you just, like, laying there like a doormat and just taking this? Or is it really that everybody's against you, even the gods? Who knows? He said, Nestor says, Odysseus may come back. After all, and repay these scoundrels in full, either single-handedly or with a force of Achaeans behind him. So even Nestor is like, no, Odysseus could totally still be alive. Because, again, remember, super skilled in battle. Like, this guy, he was a big deal. Is a big deal. Telemachus again. I wish he would, but I cannot believe it will ever happen, even if the gods willed it. So Telemachus is back in that doubtful state. What foolish words, Telemachus, Nestor says. Nope. The mentor says. The mentor is talking to him. The mentor is sitting on his other side. What foolish words, Telemachus. A god's will can save a man half a world away. Besides, suffering long years at sea is better than getting home quickly only to find a knife in your back, as Agamemnon did. Okay, so basically saying, whatever the gods will happen. So if Odysseus has the gods' favor, then you don't have anything to worry about it. You can't say that you don't think it'll happen even if it was the God's will, because obviously if it was the God's will, it was going to happen. Anyways, this is what the mentor says. And suffering long years at sea, being delayed at sea, is better than coming home and you're betrayed. You're literally stabbed in the back. Okay, so the Nestor speaks up again. Well put, my friend. And that's why you shouldn't leave your house long in the hands of scoundrels. Nevertheless, before you sail home, I would advise you to seek out Menelaus, the red-haired king, in his palace at Sparta. So now this is, Athena has said this and Nestor has said this, both of them. He was the last of all the Achaeans to return, and in his travels he may have heard something more about your father. Sail there tomorrow, or, if you'd like, I'll lend you a chariot to make the journey by land, and one of my sons will go with you as a guide. Okay, and then the mentor speaks with a weird sentence. Good advice. Let's slice the bull's tongues, make our offerings, and be off to our ship to rest. And so what I think it is I think as they were slaughtering the cattle, I think that they actually took the tongue out and made slices, because they gave burnt offerings. They would throw things into fire, and as it burned up, they said the smell went up to the gods, and that's how they made sacrifices. So I guess they're hoping that they'll make another sacrifice, like they'll make a sacrifice to Poseidon for a blessing, now that they have a plan to travel, even though they're traveling over land. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that. Oh, and be off to our ship to rest. So the mentor is like, okay, so let's get this done. Let's make the offerings, and we'll go back and we'll sleep on the ship. Okay, so but Nestor, he was like, no. Gods forbid that the son of my old friend should sleep on the deck of a ship when I have good warm beds of sheepskins, blankets, and deep piled rugs. You must be guests in my hall. So that sounds nicer than anything you might have on a old wooden boat. All right. Nestor has just made that offer. What? I'm sorry. Hang on. I was sorry. I was confused by something I saw. Okay. So Nestor has just made that offer, and the mentor stands up. Okay. Well said, sir. Telemachus should do as you ask. But I must go back to give orders and reassure the crew. They're all as young as Telemachus here, unused to the hardships of sailing, because it was really tough doing all the rowing and it took a lot of physical strength and a lot of mental strength as well to keep up with everything that you had to do on a ship to keep it just going forward, and keep, like repairs up and stuff like that. Send Telemachus on his way in a chariot with swift horses, and one of your sons for company. And then, plot twist, the mentor stands up and turns into one of the hawks. Remember? Like we saw at the assembly? So, turns out this guy, maybe this old guy that volunteered to go with him from Ithaca, I thought he was the mentor, but maybe he was just just an elder there, like an older person that he looked up to. Anyways, he just turned into a bird and flew away. So Nestor is kind of like taken aback by this. Nobody was expecting this to happen. We've got looks of shock on everybody's face. This old guy just stands up and he's like, poof, I'm a hawk. He flies away. Told you guys, these stories are weird. All right. So Nestor says to Telemachus, my friend, I have no fears for you, if at such a young age you're so favored by the gods. Why, that can only have been Athena, Zeus's gray-eyed daughter, who always favored your father in battle. Okay, so this was another disguise of Athena. So she's been helping Telemachus this whole time. "O lady, hear me." Um, and I think "O lady" is to Athena. "O lady, hear me. Grant fame and good fortune to my wife and sons. A noble heifer, 1 year old, that no man has ever yoked or driven, will be yours in sacrifice. I'll sheathe her horns in gold and offer her up to you." So he's saying, um, a female cow, 1 year old, that has not been used for any sort of work, pure and unspoiled. He's going to cover the horns in gold and sacrifice this very pure, very select, very good sacrifice to Athena if he'll grant fame and good fortune to, if she'll grant fame and good fortune to his wife and sons. Okay, so we're going to do 2 books just like we did before. So this one says book 4, Sparta. So here we go. We're traveling in the chariot, going through the mountains. We're going through. Let's see where all we're going. Gosh, they're traveling a long time. It looks like they stop into a building, maybe to stay the night or maybe to ask directions. There's like the guy like waves them off in the next panel, and then they're going through the mountains again, and then they see another city that has a guard. And the guard lets them in, and we're inside and we're at another feast. So we've got another animal over the campfire and people carrying plates of food and jars of wine and stuff around. Okay, so now we're talking again. Okay, so we must finally have gotten to the palace of Menelaus. "Welcome. Sit, eat your fill, and then you may tell me who you are. Though I can already tell by your looks and manners that you are the sons of kings." Good eye, Menelaus. Okay, so then Telemachus leans over to what I think is Nestor's son, who went with him in the chariot. Pisistratus? I don't know. These names are really hard, guys. Okay, so look, Pisistratus, the gold, silver, and precious stones, everything so richly wrought and bright polished metal, surely this is what the palace of Zeus is like. So he's looking around at Menelaus's palace and he's like, oh my goodness, everything here is so like nice and rich. There's all these, elegant workings of metal and jewels, and he's like, this has got to be what Zeus's palace is like in Olympus. Okay, so then Menelaus says, "No man can rival Zeus, for his palace and treasures are immortal, but among mortal men, few, if any, can boast of more wealth than I." Not very humble there, Menelaus. "Still, I take little pleasure in it, for while I was out at sea gathering these treasures, my brother was slain in his own palace, struck down by his wicked wife and her lover." Ew. Okay, so she cheated on him, and then she and her new boyfriend killed her husband, Menelaus' brother. What a bummer. "I wish I had come home with 1/10 the riches, but with my brother and the other fallen Achaeans still alive." Oh, so he's a good guy. So he's saying, I would have rather had my brother still be alive and the other people who died in the battle, I'd rather have them alive than have all of this money, "One man I miss above all others. He did more for our cause, suffered more on the sea than any other, and we know not whether he is alive or dead. He left only sorrow for his wife Penelope and his young son Telemachus." Okay, so Menelaus is saying that he misses Odysseus more than anybody else that he fought with, besides like his brother. He's saying he misses Odysseus more than anybody else. Okay, so then I think next to him here, she's got a veil covering her face. I don't know who this is, but she's sitting directly beside Menelaus, so maybe this is his wife? I don't know. Do we know, Menelaus, the names of these guests? Shall I guess? I may be wrong, but I must say I've never seen such a resemblance as this lad has to noble Odysseus. Okay, so she's figured Telemachus out. I think so too. And just now, when I mentioned that great man, I saw tears spring to the lad's eyes. Oh, yeah, so they figured him out. Sir, you are right. I am Odysseus's son. It's Telemachus, obviously. Wise King Nestor advised me to come here in hopes that you might know something of my father's fate. I have great trouble at home, for a pack of greedy suitors pays court to my mother, and they are eating us out of house and home. If only I knew for sure whether my father is ever coming home, or if he is dead and buried. Ooh, excuse me. Dead and buried somewhere abroad. Okay, so they're sitting at the head table, and they figured out who Telemachus is, and he's just saying, you figured me out. I'm exactly who you think I am. I'm so desperate to find news of my father because, of all those would-be boyfriends back at home. Ooh, Menelaus. Okay. So, though these cowards would usurp a hero's bed, ha! A doe might as well leave her newborn young in the lair of a lion. When the lion comes home, he will make short work of them. Okay, so what he's saying is, they're trying to, they're trying to move into his house and marry his wife and take all his stuff. It would be a better idea for a deer to leave her baby in the lair of a lion, which where the baby deer would obviously be eaten. He's like, that's a better idea than trying to move in on Odysseus's turf. Okay. So again, they're coming back to that idea that Odysseus is super tough. Okay. But as for your question, I will tell you truly all that was revealed to me by the old man of the sea. Okay. So the old man of the sea, is Proteus, because he works so closely with Poseidon. So, he's basically getting some, he's going to tell a story of how he got some information from a god, but not directly from, it's going to come roundabout, but it's going to come from Poseidon. I was returning from Troy by way of Egypt, and I stopped to make a sacrifice to the gods. But my hecatombs must not have satisfied them. Ooh, okay. So lots and lots of oxen sacrificed. It didn't work out for him. For one day out from Egypt, we were becalmed upon the island of Pharos. Okay, so basically saying they were stuck. There was no wind. They couldn't make any progress. They were stuck. For 20 days, not a breeze stirred. So it's hard to get a sailboat to go with no wind, because that's its principal method. Even if you have rowers, you still got to have wind of some kind to get it going or to keep it going. And our provisions were soon exhausted. So that's all the food, all the drinkable water, all of it gone. The men would take hooks and spread out on the shore in hope of catching fish, while I sat alone on a rocky outcrop. Okay, so he's probably, since he's the leader, he's probably what am I going to do? So, his men are trying everything they can. They're trying to catch fish. They're trying to stay alive, and he's trying to think of a plan. Then, a strange woman approached me. Stranger, says the strange woman, do you like to starve? Why do you sit here without food instead of sailing away? So look at him. She sneaks up behind him, and he's like, ah! He's very surprised. He's like, where'd you come from? I'm sitting up here trying to make a plan. So he turns around and looks at her and says, you think I chose this? Some god has becalmed my ships here, and I cannot leave. I wish I knew which of the immortals I have offended and how I might escape. So he's clearly saying, look, I tried to give the offerings. Something is wrong. I've made somebody upset, and I just wish I knew who so that I could figure out how to fix it. Then I can help you, she says. I am Eidothea, the daughter of Proteus, whom they call the Old Man of the Sea because he is Poseidon's right-hand man. He knows every inch of the seabed and sees all that happens on the water or on shore. If you can snare him and hold him tight, he'll tell you how to complete your voyage and tell you, too, what has passed in your homeland since you left. Okay, so she's like, oh, no big deal. You just have to catch the god Poseidon and hold on to him real tight, and he'll tell you how to get free. Okay, so then the question that springs to my mind is the same thing that Menelaus here is about to ask. But tell me, how can mortal man snare a god? How am I supposed to catch him? He says, that's not so easily done. He's like, you just told me, oh, it's no big deal. Just catch a god. What am I supposed to do with that? Okay, so then she says, listen and do all as I tell you. Pick out 3 of your best men, stout of heart and limb. So they've got to be brave and they've got to be like physically strong too. So they've got to be strong emotionally and physically. They can't run away. I will lead you to a certain cavern, so like a cave, on the rocky shore and place you in ambush there. So she's basically saying, I know this place where you can hide, and then when Poseidon comes by, you guys can ambush him. So she's talking about this cave that she's going to take him and his men to. So she's got this whole plan. Ew. You'll hide in seal carcasses, and I'll dab ambrosia beneath your noses to mask the stench. When the sun hangs at high noon, my father, Proteus, will emerge from the waves, followed by a great pack of seals, which he will usher into his sea cave. He'll count them as a shepherd counts his sheep and lie down among them to rest. Then you must seize him and hold on to him with all your strength. Okay, so she wasn't saying catch Poseidon. She was saying catch my dad, Proteus. That's what she was saying. Okay, so far the plan is to find dead seals and hide under them or in them, and she's going to put something sweet under their noses so that they don't get sick from the dead seal smell. But the plan is they're going to hide in the seals. She's putting the ambrosia on. So when he comes up and goes to sleep amongst them, oops, I just hit my mic, sorry. When he goes to sleep, then they can sneak out. I don't like this plan. It's a very smelly plan. He will transform into every kind of animal that walks the earth, and to fire and water too, but you must squeeze him tighter and tighter until he returns to his original form. Then you may release him and ask him all your questions. Okay, so they have to hang on to him while he changes into different animals and also into fire and water? This is going to be tough. Okay, so she says he's going to change. Wait till he returns to his original form. Then you may release him and ask him all your questions. After that, Adothea jumped into the sea and vanished beneath the waves. So she's literally like, this is the plan. Bye. And like she jumps off. Thanks a lot. We did all as she said and caught the old man of the sea unawares. He struggled and changed himself into 100 forms, but eventually he grew tired and spoke to me. Which god helped you, son of Atreus, to play this game on me? To play this trick on me. What do you mean by it? Okay, so we have pictures here of him as a giant snake and as a lion and as a flow of water and as a wild boar. And then finally he has kind of like an otter-like or a seal-like face. So maybe that's why the seals come with him. That's his original form. Is he kind of looks like one. You know that well enough yourself, old man. Tell me which of the gods holds me here, and how I may be set free to return to my home. So Menelaus isn't playing around. He's like, look, you know exactly what's happened. You know exactly how I caught you. So just tell me what I need to know so I can get out of here. It has been decreed, son of Atreus, that you may not return home until you go back to Egypt and offer hecatombs to all the gods upon the banks of the Nile. Then you may sail swiftly back to your land. Okay, so he didn't do his sacrifice correctly, apparently. So he needs to go back to Egypt, do the sacrifice correctly, and then he'll get to sail home. Back to Egypt? Very well, old man, I'll do as you say, but tell me now, have all the Achaean heroes returned safely to their homes from Troy, or did any come to a bad end upon the seaways? Son of Atreus, why ask me this? It can only cause you sorrow. Very well. Menelaus just gives him like this stern look in this thing. Sorry, my hair is falling. Okay, so look here. He just is like, answer my question. Like, he doesn't even say anything. He's just like, answer my question. So then it's, very well, you know how many fell on the field at Troy. Of those who sailed away, only 2 perished. A third still lives, but is hindered from returning, and that's Odysseus. So he's got his own trouble with the gods that's keeping him from making it all the way back home. Ajax was wrecked. Poseidon drove his ship upon the rocks of Gyrae. He pulled himself from the sea and might still have survived, but he boasted that even the gods couldn't drown him. Poseidon heard this and split the ledge he was standing on so that he fell back into the brine and perished. So Ajax, great warrior, also a name of a dish soap, which is interesting. When his ship wrecked, he managed to climb up on a rock and was like, haha, even the gods couldn't drown me. And Poseidon's like, want to bet? And promptly drowned him. So, no good. Your brother, Agamemnon, was blown off course, but he reached his native soil again safely, or so it seemed. His wife had taken a lover, Aegisthus. He posted a man to watch for Agamemnon's ships and laid the king a bloody ambush in his own hall. So, even though Agamemnon made it home, basically the minute he made it home, his wife's new boyfriend was like, LOL JK, you don't get to be here anymore, and killed him like the second he got home. So that's no good. So Odysseus is the third one that they're talking about that's being prevented from returning. So if you look here, this is Ajax like on the rock, like, haha, can't get me. And this is supposed to be Poseidon's face, like, yeah, you want to bet? And so then this is supposed to be Agamemnon sailing home, and the Aegisthus boyfriend watching and waiting to put his evil plot into action. Oh, there's more to this story. Okay. In the midst of the welcome feast, so the feast to literally welcome them back home, Aegisthus' men sprang out and slaughtered your brother, Agamemnon, and his men. They fought well, but all went down to death. Take comfort, for your nephew Orestes took revenge and killed Aegisthus. If you sail quickly, you may arrive in time for the funeral. Thank you. Okay, so Menelaus is like, no, that's not good enough. Tell me about the last man, the one who is still at sea. Because he hasn't been told the name yet, so he wants to know who this is, because these are people he knows. So, okay. The third man is Odysseus of Ithaca. I have seen him on an island, deep in sorrow, trapped in the caves of the nymph Calypso. She keeps him there for her pleasure, and he has no means of escape, no ship or crew to take him home. He's stuck. But no such fate awaits you, he said to Menelaus. As the husband of Helen, Zeus holds you as his son-in-law. You will not die upon the earth, but find your ease in the Elysian fields, where eternal summer breezes waft all cares away. Okay, so the Elysian fields were like their heaven for revered people and um strong, noble warriors and all of that kind of stuff. The Elysian fields were like where you wanted to go, as opposed to like fully in the underworld. Okay, so now we're back to present time. So said the old man of the sea. I did all that he instructed, and the winds brought me swiftly home. Now, you must stay with me and be my guest for 10 or 12 days more. Then I'll send you home with rich gifts, a fine chariot, horses, and a hammered cup, so that you may remember me whenever you tip out the wine in your hall. Send him home? Okay. Son of Atreus, which is, he's talking to Menelaus now. I must return to my comrades at Pylos. They've waited long enough for me already. As for your gift, give me something small that I can carry home with me. I can't take horses on my ship, and Ithaca has no grassy plains to run them in. Very well, then. You shall have the loveliest and most precious treasure in my storerooms, a mixing bowl wrought in silver and gold by Hephaestus himself. Hephaestus is like the forger of the gods. Like he's the one who forges Zeus's lightning bolts and actually like creates things out of metal that like for the gods. So for a mortal to have something wrought by Hephaestus is a big deal. It was given to me by the king of Sidon during my journey back from Troy. This shall be my gift to you, that you may remember me whenever you feast in your hall at home. So he's telling him, like, I'll send you home with all of this stuff. And Telemachus is like, dude, I don't have room for all this. I don't even have a place for the horses to be. Can you send me something small? So he's like, okay, here, you can have this nice silver and gold bowl that Hephaestus made. And just remember me when you get back to your feast hall. Okay, so here they go. Wait, did I skip something? No, I did not. Okay, so wait a minute. Now we're going back to Ithaca, okay, where Telemachus lives. Remember Antinous, the guy that had the terrible attitude? He's showing up again. So they're and this is part of what we're gonna talk about with the Olympic Games. They're out for sport. They're throwing the discus and throwing javelins. And again, all of this taking over Odysseus' estate. Antinous, do you know when Telemachus is returning from Pylos? He took my ship, and I happened to need it for an errand to Elis. Antinous says, that insolent pup, when did he leave, and who went with him? And for that matter, why did you give him your ship? This guy says, why should I refuse a young man of his standing with so much trouble on his mind? He asked to borrow my ship, and I lent it to him gladly. As for his crew, they're the best young men on the island, except for us, of course. And Mentor went with him, too. Or at least, I thought I saw him board the ship that night, but 2 days later I passed him in the street in broad daylight. So now we know that Mentor was really Athena. So the real Mentor is still in Ithaca, but Athena, dressed as Mentor, went with him to Pylos. Bad news, lads. Ooh, Antinous. Okay, Antinous again. Bad news, lads. We thought Telemachus would never make the voyage, and here he's carried it off beneath our noses. That boy is going to give us trouble. Quick, get me a swift ship and 20 men. We'll catch him in the straits between Ithaca and the bluffs of Same and sink his ambitions. Oh, no. Okay, so He's like cracking his knuckles, like ready for a fight, right? Like that's what he's doing. Okay. Well, thankfully, he's overheard, right? And so this guy goes down the hall and he goes and he tells Mom, Penelope, Medon, what errand are you running now for those insolent dogs, my so-called suitors? I despise them all. So cruel, so arrogant. Didn't their father tell them what a good king Odysseus was? Fair to every man, no favoritism or petty rages. They insult his memory. They are worse than you know. This is Medon who overheard the conversation. I think they are planning to kill your son on his way back from Pylos. Okay, so he tells her that, and obviously she is very scared. She's like, my kid. Because I don't even think, she didn't even know Telemachus had left. Remember, she's locked herself up in her room so she doesn't have to deal with all those would-be boyfriends. And, so now she's worried about her son and her husband. Pylos? What? Herald, why has my child sailed to Pylos? And this is Herald like messenger, not Herald like the name, because his name is Medon. But like, so he's a messenger. He's somebody who runs errands for her, sends messages, carries things back and forth, that kind of thing. He's so young out on the pitiless ocean. She's worried because that's, how she lost her husband. So Medon says, I do not know if it was his own thought or if a god inspired him, but he went to find news of his father. And Penelope's so sad, she goes to the window and she just says, leave me. Like she can't handle anymore. Oh, and then okay. So she's like, leave me. And she falls to her knees. So then she's going to start to pray because she's like super upset. She's crying. She's like, Athena, child of Zeus, whose shield is thunder, if ever my husband burned rich thigh bones of oxen to you, please protect my son. So basically saying, if my husband was a good servant of yours, if he was a faithful follower of yours, rich thigh bones of oxen, so that's the hecatombs, the good sacrifice. If she's like, if he was a good follower of you, please, please, please protect my son. Oh, and look how sad she is. She's just curled up and she's just crying. She's so pitiful. All right, so that was book 3 and 4. So we will stop there. And here is a hint. Don't tell anybody else. Watch, because you're watching these individually. But if you can tell me what Baby Yoda is holding, you get a bonus star for today. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.